Let's do a cast testing session with the new Daiwa Tatula BF on an ultralight setup and see how low this reel can go. This is one of the two Bait Finesse reels that Daiwa USA has released in the US market. While Bait Finesse reel is nothing new to the US market, it's still considered relatively young. With that said, I feel that Daiwa could have done a little bit better on their website telling people what these reels are being used for. But I guess that's where Jimbo comes in, right? This reel here sports a size 30mm spool and it weighs 10.8 grams and it also sports micro bearings. I feel like this reel here is going to be an awesome Bait Finesse reel as an all-rounder, meaning it will fit rods from ultralight all the way to medium light. Now, having said that it's an all-rounder, it may not do well on either end of the spectrum, meaning that it may not cast the lightest lures or it may not cast the heaviest lure very, very far or easily. We don't know. With that said, we're going to have to do a cast testing session. And once again, we'll be casting this reel on an ultralight setup to see how low it could go. I'll be putting this reel on the Tsurinoya Dragon, the C602UL ultralight rod. This is a two-piece rod rated down to 1 gram. I will have 120 feet of 0.6 go. This is a very, very thin diameter line from Varivas. This is Varivas 4 and it is approximately 10 pounds. Please note that this reel here is pre-tuned for the tension knob. It sports the zero adjuster tension knob. And with that said, I am not even gonna touch it. We are only gonna play around with the brakes. So let's get out there and see how this braking system works before we see how low it could go. Let's do this. All right, folks, got to the casting pond and we're gonna cast our first lure. The first thing we're gonna do though, we're not gonna be counting distance. I see a lot of wind here and the wind is going that way. So it's gonna help me cast, which is nice. I'm standing here because I don't want the wind noise to be up on the camera. And also the sun's on the other side beating on us. So let's do some casting. This lure I have here is the Z-Man shad fries on their 1/16 ounce shad head. Total weight is about 2.9 something. And the first thing we're gonna do is not really count distance. We're gonna play around and just see how the braking system in this reel work. So I'm very, very curious how this thing behaves. So let's just cast and see how it goes. Okay, so brake power 10 is pretty over braked. So let's lower it. And I do know that a lot of my Daiwa reels are expected that way. Most of Daiwa reels, the braking system is very, very strong. And I think a lot of the reels, I think that it's pretty consistent, right? Where I can have it in brake 8 and I don't need a feather and it goes pretty good. So let's take a look. Okay, see, that went straight compared to brake 10, but I feel like I could lower it even more. So let's do it. Let's lower it even more. Okay. Let's try 6. 6 is where I usually have all my reels, but I have to feather it very good. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so I actually didn't need to feather it, and maybe because of the wind carrying, but it went out pretty far. Let's do a few more casts. I'm gonna cast in the wind too. Okay, so yeah, the wind is definitely blowing my lure, but I'm not over spooling, so that's impressive. Let's lower it a little bit more. Let's try 4. This is very dangerous. Casting thin PE line, expensive PE line at brake 4 setting. Okay, so I do feel that it's over spooling a little bit. You can see that there is one little loose end right there. Let me fix that. But overall, casting at brake 4 is pretty cool. I guess I could try casting into the wind with brake 4. But yeah, today, I don't think I'll be measuring distance for anything because due to the wind, because it's gonna be inaccurate. But I could tell you that I was casting into the wind, brake 4, and I was feathering, and it was not bad distance. It was not bad. Okay, but let's go down lower. I'll try brake 2. Oh, that's very fast. Okay, so yeah, brake 2, very insane. But I feel like this reel here, I'm going lower than other Daiwa Bait Finesse reels, and it's pretty good. But like I said, it could be the wind because it's helping me carry. I definitely won't want to cast this into the wind. But so far, casting this lure, I would say pass. Definitely pass. I mean, 10, almost 11 gram spool, and then casting a 3 gram lure should be cake, and it is cake. I'm very impressed with the braking system too. So let's go lower and just see how things behave. I like casting windy days like these because, most of my fishing days in spring, it's windy, it's terrible. I get blown all over the place, and it's real life. So let's lower the weight and see how it behaves. All right, the next lure I'm gonna throw is the Euro Tackle 2-inch B-Vibe on their 1/16 ounce soft lock tungsten jig, and this is size 4 hook. This is approximately 2.66 grams, just a tad bit lighter, and this is like my bread and butter. I don't know if there's any other lures that's in my tackle box that could catch me that many fish. Like this thing right here is a fishing magnet. So if you guys are into crappies, trout, bass, you name it, this thing catches everything. Heck, I even catch a carp, some saltwater fish. It's great. Anyways, let's put the brakes back up. I'm gonna go to 8 because we know that 8 is probably the safe spot. And I feel like 8 is overbraked. Okay, so definitely this reel here, the braking system is a lot stronger than all the other reels I've played with from Daiwa. So let's go down to 6. Okay, that is nice. That is nice. Okay. Went out straight at 6 and it was not over spooling. So let's go to 4. Okay, that is pretty far and it wasn't really over spooling. And the wind is down right now. It is down right now. This is great. Very impressive. All right, so brake 2. Oh, there you go. Over spooling, braking power 2. And I was feathering, but I think I was a little too high. I didn't know how much pressure to put on the spool, given that, I'm not familiar with the spinning speed and everything with this, right? But that was not a hard cast. Okay, bait casting with a thin line, you shouldn't cast very hard because if you backlash in the air, you may create enough force with during a sudden jerk, sudden stop, and you may snap your line, especially if you use heavier lures. So be careful, okay? Be careful. Choose the right line for your fishery and just don't cast too hard, okay? But yeah, brake 2 is a little bit too much. But yeah, this is nice. Brake 3, brake 4, good distance. All right, since the wind is down, we'll do 1 cast right here like that. And we will count this one, I guess, just for the sakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 28, 29, and 29 in the third. So that's not bad, given that the estimate for this one is max spool is 30 inch per turn. All right, the next lure is a huge jump. I'm doing a Euro Tackle Z Viber, and this is the micro version. Turn the brakes back up. I'm gonna start at 6, and let's give it a wing. I went to the left. So, yeah, it might be a little bit too heavy for the spool, but let's lower the brakes a little bit more, because we know that the sweet spot for this is a little bit lower. I think 4 is a great braking power spot, so let's give it a cast. All right, so it's actually going out nicely, okay? Nicely. And these are all soft side casts, okay, because I don't want to over spool, but technically I could probably put the brakes back up, let's say 6, right, and do a flick cast, like a stronger, whip, and see how that goes, because some folks like to do the whip style cast like this. So yeah, I think 6 might be still over brake because it's inaccurate. Let's try 5. Yeah, for these small little lures like spoons, stuff like that, a lot of folks like to flick cast, cast very quick, right? And I think this reel could do this light. Let me just lower the brakes even more. Let's go back to 4 now. But yeah, so far the side simple back and forth cast is what I've been doing. All right, so you can definitely flick cast with 4 without over spooling. So technically I could be casting harder at 4. This is amazing. All right, that's nice. Let's you know what? Let's lower the brakes a little bit more. I'm getting a little ballsy because 1.6 gram is pretty light. We have a almost close to 11 gram spool here. Let's do brake setting 3. Okay. There's the over spooling. So yeah, I think 4 is probably the safe spot, but this reel passed casting a 1.66 gram lure. Let's go lighter, shall we? Put this reel to the test. All right, it's time to cast the infamous trout magnet. Most people will have their lures around the 0.9 gram area, but for some reason, this guy here is at 0.78. I think it got to do with the plastic and color. The jig seems fine. The weight of the jig is fine, but the plastic here is a little lighter than the others, and therefore this is closer to 0.8 grams. So let's just consider this to 0.8 grams, and we have this at brake setting 4, and let's do a cast. And it went to the left, not just because of the wind. Okay, wind definitely plays a huge role when you cast those light lures out, it get carried away, but it did go left. So with that said, I would say it does not pass the cast testing, because I would likely have to compensate in order to cast this light of a lure. Yeah, I had to compensate to get that in front of me. Let me try a flick cast for a second, like a harder cast. Backlash. But yeah, I think I want to say it does not pass this. Okay, does not pass this. Maybe the 1 gram mark it could do it, because it's very close. Okay, but for anything that's like sub 1 gram, it's tough. But yeah, there are upgrades for this reel already. There is a spool in the market, which we'll talk about in the near future. All right, the last lure I'm gonna cast is the awesome Eurotackle EPF Swim. This is a 1-inch swim bait, and I got it on their Eurotackle soft lock tungsten jig, 1/32 ounce, size 6 hook. Like, this is a perfect combination. Use this specific jig for crappie fishing, pan fishing, and trout fishing. And I know I keep saying that this reel is more of the bass fishing, but with the spool this light, I'm sure people are be using this for many other species as well. Bait finesse is just a tool, right? With the right rod, with the right line, you can use it for any species, okay? But yeah, let's see if this shines for a 1.33 gram lure. And the wind is blowing pretty strong, but I'll cast it anyway, but I'll put the brakes back up. Let's do 6. And it might be a little over break on 6, okay? So let's go to 4, and let's try again. There we go. 4, you could definitely get it out, and it's pretty good distance. Like, if you're trout fishing, that's okay. Like, you fishing streams, this is okay. Yeah, this is a-okay. Not bad at all. It's pretty accurate and everything. Let's go to break 3. Oh, got a little bit over spooling a second ago. I had to feather it, but yeah, it's good distance. Yeah, break setting 4 right there. It's pretty good. So yeah, this definitely passed the Eurotackle EPF Swim. So let's go. Very exciting. That was a very good cast testing session. I'm very, very impressed with this new Daiwa Tatula BF70. Let me summarize for you the results. Let's first talk about the braking power of this reel. And once again, as a reminder, I did not change the tension knob. The tension is basically factory tuned, and I did not touch it. All I did was change the braking setting on this brake dial. Now, the braking system in this reel, I feel like it is a lot stronger than any other predecessor I've ever used. I use a lot of Daiwa reels, and I'm a huge fan of them. And I just feel that this reel here is a little bit stronger, and I feel like it's really, really good for casting these bait finesse lures. I found that the effective braking settings is 7 and below. 4 is where it starts overspooling, and you guys start using your thumb. Most of the casts, brake setting 4, it may overspool during the cast, but it usually fixes itself before the end of the cast. Anything below 4, well, you gotta use the thumb. And I did cast a few times the heavier lures into the wind at around brake setting 4, and it was beautiful. Okay, I went through the wind really, really nice, and I really, really enjoy it. So the next thing, let's talk about how low this reel could go on an ultralight setup. Obviously, the max weight I've casted today was around 3 grams, and casted beautifully, right? And I found that this reel could cast down to 1.3 grams, very, very nice. The Eurotackle EPF Swim, the 1-inch swim bait on the 1/32 ounce jig, whoo, that went out pretty nicely. And I did try casting the trout magnet as Portrayed. I had to compensate in order to get it out, but the distance is okay. But I am not passing the trout magnet at 0.78 grams because compensating your cast is never always accurate, okay? You cannot get a consistent cast for accuracy and distance. So I'm not passing it, but as you see, there is potential for casting just a little bit heavier. So potentially at the 1 gram mark, you might be able to do it. But let me assure you that you could cast a lot lighter on this reel if you were to swap the spool to an aftermarket spool. There's already one out there from raWr, and it's a really, really nice spool. So if you want to see me do a cast testing session with that spool on this reel, let me know in the comments below. So overall, this new Daiwa Tatula BF70, I feel like it's a great all-rounder. Okay, it did really, really well for ultralight. For the niche folks who want to cast below 1 gram, you definitely want to look at a different reel, or you want to try the aftermarket spool, the raWr spool. But if you're going to throw lures around the 1.3 grams and up for ultralight, as you guys seen, it's pretty darn good. As mentioned in my unboxing video, I'll likely use this more of a bass bait finesse reel, so I'll be using it on a light or medium light tackle rod in the future. But stay tuned for some ultralight fishing with this reel because I want to put this in real life fishing on an ultralight setup and see how well it goes. I'll likely be fishing for crappies, bass, pickerels, perch, you name it, whatever on the lake bites. So stay tuned for those videos. The fish don't wait. Get your Bait Finesse game at Bait Finesse Empire. You guys check out the links in the description below. Peace out.